The agenda this week looked into the recent social media prompted turmoil in the stock market and examined the problem of discrimination in the province's construction industry. Have a look.
Let's, Navneet, go on because I want to ask you about something that you had in the Star just recently. You wrote in your story how the aggregating power of social media allows a very small number of people to distort and disrupt. Amplify on that for us, if you would.
Yeah, I think the Reddit is a good example of the ambivalence of social media and the internet. Like, so on the one hand, the aggregating power of the internet, what it allows people to do is gather around a topic, find like-minded people, and form a kind of a collective or a mass of people that together has far more power than people would have individually or would have had prior to social media. I think that the ambivalence to that comes in where, that can be quite positive in the sense of, that we've seen movements like Me Too, like Black Lives Matter kind of coalesce online and gain more momentum and gain more power through that aggregating power. But we've also seen, targeted harassment campaigns. We have seen election interference. We have seen misinformation and the rise of conspiracy theories that also arise through that aggregating power. And so I think that's where my kind of skepticism comes from, is that if we sort of uncritically celebrate that aggregating power, we may also be welcoming movements or trends in society that we would actually like to sort of tap down on.
Yeah, Brian, one of the things you also hear is, on these chat sites, you will hear people say, all I need is to have Elon Musk say one nice thing about this stock and it's going to go through the roof. And in fact, that's kind of what happened with GameStop, right? Elon Musk had something positive to say about GameStop, and it went right up into outer space. Do celebrities, as a general rule, are they able to play this kind of outsized role in the movement of stocks?
Well, there's no question that influencers are having a role in driving some of these things. There is an interesting sidelight to the Elon Musk thing. As soon as Elon Musk issued that tweet, basically telling people to jump aboard, one of the big funds that had been long in GameStop and had bought the shares at only $10 a share sold almost immediately as soon as Elon Musk opened his mouth. And they're now known as the company that uses Elon Musk as a sell point. If Musk tells you to buy it, get the heck out. And they made about $600 million profit. But Elon Musk is not the only influencer who was involved in these things. There were 3 or 4 major players who said, yes, let's get on this thing. Elon Musk hates short sellers. He despises them. And as soon as he saw that this was creating a terrific short squeeze and screwing some of those big hedge funds, he said, great, let's do it, because he'd like to wipe out short selling completely if he could.
April, what do you think of this phenomenon of celebrities either touting or talking down stocks and having outsized influence given their knowledge of the markets?
Well, I think that, social media's effect on the stock market, it's definitely come to light in a really big way in recent weeks. But as a business journalist, it's been interesting because it's not just these few celebrity investors in the last couple of weeks. I think we've been watching and waiting for Trump to tweet and looking at how he affects the stock market or affected the stock market before. And so that isn't really new, but it's definitely new in the sense that these were really big moves. The other thing I would say is I would just go back to the old investing advice of, trying to differentiate between market noise and, signal the financial health of companies, right? You, as an investor, that's one of your responsibilities is to differentiate between what information you trade on and what is just noise.
We'll look into equity, building equity for Black people within the industry to ensure that people like myself can see Black leaders within construction sites, within the offices, and that builds that level of respect, that level of equitable representation that people feel they can do those kind of things to people of my color and people like myself. Also, we are to up our mental health access, mental health awareness access, and also we also have to ensure that we don't sit comfortable in our reporting system. We have to ensure we create some upgrades to our reporting system so that people have a voice. People can are encouraged to bring to the forefront people that are engaging in these actions. So just to keep the long story short, the fact is, as Rosemary said, allyship, people coming together, really encourage people like myself to say, we got to step up, we got to stand together, and we got to help propel this change. And really seeing intentional actions help to propel our trust again, because trust was broken, and I felt that broken trust. But seeing people coming together help to make that happen again for someone like myself.
Okay, Sefton, let's hear from you on this. And in answering the question, maybe you can tell us during the course of your career how much racism you yourself have experienced on the job.
Wow. You know what? I want to thank Rosemary and Samuel for their answers. It's really strengthening to hear those words, and to also not only hearing the words, but I've heard and I've seen the responses that has been put forward by them. Now, the experience in the workforce, I have many times receive and jobs from different organizations, different companies, where we've come in to build a complete a structure. And after being on the phone, going through the emails, sending in the tenders, receiving the welcome packages, now going out to meet who's in charge, and you sit there and you wait in the office, and the person comes out once and they look around, they come out twice, they look around, then they come out the third time. This is half an hour after our bid there, and they said, has Mr. Spence shown up yet? Well, the situation is Mr. Spence has been here for about 40 minutes, and I'm Spence. And on the way back to the office where you hand over your package with all your certificates and everything like that, now you sit down in the office and he tells you that the job is no longer available. This is after when you've done all the procurement, you've done everything already to secure the job, and even transfer of information, security codes, different things like that. That has happened. And it's happened more than once in my experience. Many times because I don't have maybe a strong accent when it's necessary. They mistakenly and think, oh, you are of a different, culture. So, but when I go out on site and they look at me, then they go, oh, okay, this doesn't work. So it's happened many times. I've had also recently with my own son in Vancouver, finding a noose right beside himself, put there by another worker. It touches home. It changes your look. It changes your thoughts. It makes you think, what did you do wrong? Where did I go wrong?
Sefton, let me jump in here. Do you think it's possible the people who do these things with the nooses don't appreciate the significance or the gravity of that action?
Ignorance goes a long way. And I think, yes, there is a gravity that they don't understand because they haven't gone through the process. They haven't gone through the lifestyle. Now, I can't say that I have also gone through it as such, but my son out in Vancouver first, they targeted his car and they wrote nigger on the side of his car. I'm going to put it out there frankly. But the community rallied around him. And even the dealership where he went to get his car looked at to be refixed, they took it and they redid his whole entire car just because of what somebody else in their ignorance had done. Now, within the community, and there's that fear within the construction workers because they're not too sure what the next step is. So that's why agencies like TCCBN and Samuel over there at Ellis Don are really necessary. And here at ACA, it's really necessary that we as a whole strengthen the community, bring them together with knowledge and understanding, and put them together so that they could stand up again, because this thing beats them down and they're not too sure on what is it that they need to do in going forward.
That's just some of what we covered this week on the agenda. For more, including the full conversations, you can visit our website, tvo.org, our YouTube channel at youtube.com/theagenda, or our Twitter feed, twitter.com/theagenda.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is brought to you by the Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario. CPA Ontario is a regulator, an educator, a thought leader, and an advocate. We protect the public. We advance our profession. We guide our CPAs. We are CPA Ontario. And by viewers like you. Thank you.